Hey everybody, the topic of the day today is minerality. I wanted to talk about minerality because it's a term, it's a descriptor that's often used in wine tasting notes, and I feel like it's quite confusing for people. So I just wanted to sort of explain what wine critics may be talking about if they put the descriptor of minerality in their description. So basically, minerality tends to be a descriptor that comes up more often than not in white wines, and it's usually just to describe some sort of flavour on the nose or on the palate, like an aroma that is sort of beyond fruity. It can be something that's almost stony. It can be a kind of earthy smell or flavour. Um, Sometimes, for example, people might describe a wine as being chalky, or there being a kind of a hint of limestone or even gunflint. People say all kinds of things in wine descriptions, but sometimes rather than give a specific name of a stone, they will just use the kind of umbrella term minerality. But it is quite subjective. So I just want to say, if you try a wine that has been described as showing minerality and you can't find it, don't worry too much about it, because it is definitely one of those wine terms that is a little bit kind of controversial. Like, it's got a lot of different views of what it actually means. But from my perspective, I would say that wines in which I have tried, which I think have shown minerality, tend to be dry white wines, normally from Europe, potentially from cool climates, because I think there is just a sort of slightly austere profile that those kind of wines have. Something a little bit astringent about them, but not in a way of being underripe fruit. It's a different kind of astringency, like a dryness on the palate, but definitely I would say like a stoniness on the palate that I would maybe think of using the word minerality to describe. So, like with a Chablis, sometimes people will use the word minerality because, there are quite chalky soils, limestone soils in that part of France, Champagne as well. And another thing I would say about minerality is that you don't tend to see that word used often with wines that have been oaked, because generally I think minerality is always something very, very subtle. It's not really ever necessarily a prominent tasting descriptor, like a tasting note. I never really try wines where I feel like it's the main thing, whatever that might be, that stoniness, like the chalkiness, the limestone, the gunflint or the flint, whatever it is. So yeah, I think it would be very difficult to find a wine which had undergone oak treatment that had minerality. But that's just my opinion. It's actually a really broad topic that lots of different wine producers and wine critics have different ideas about. So there's this video, it's much longer than the video I'm doing. It's like a 45-minute video where this topic is discussed in more detail. So what I'm going to do, if you're really interested to know more about it, I'm going to post the link to that video in this video description. So if you want to do a bit more research into minerality and what it means, you can check it out. All right then, guys, have a good weekend.